Yo, what is going on, everyone? Marcel here, and we are back with another F1 Esports onboard commentary from one of probably the most exciting races of the season, from the best event we've had. There are still 2 races to follow from that one, and it is Spa. It was a mixed condition race, and as we've learned from China, there's a chance that the intermediate tire is the better choice, even in heavy wet conditions. And the start of the race was heavy wet. So we had a lot of gamblers that took the chance, picked the intermediates like we did, and most people behind us, everyone behind us, including the AlphaTauri. Then I think Lucas Blakely on wets, both Aston Martins on wets. The only person also taking the gamble from the front runners was Freddy, because we wanted that. And it made sense. In the end, you will see how it pays off. And in that scenario, it's a 35% race. So I was thinking the pit lane, I know more or less, probably costing you 20 seconds, 15 laps, until the crossover point hits, because it was like half-half. Usually, the rain dries up a bit quicker, and like the weather evolves quicker in the F1 game, sometimes a bit longer, but usually quicker. So I was thinking, okay, can the wet runners actually make up that much time that it's actually worth just driving on wets, gambling that it maybe stay wet, and then pitting for inters? I was thinking probably in most cases, because they're also fighting, they will lose more time than I think, and we will probably not have to pit, and it will have a perfect crossover. So we will not lose enough time, so they would come out ahead of us, so we would gain track position. That was my decision, and took the gamble there. Event 2, like I said, the best event. Everything was kind of going like 20-20 for us. Bit ups and downs, like my quality didn't go perfect. I just didn't nail the lap in due to messed up the comp, got a bit loose. Lap was done. But the race was really exciting. I also had Jarno right behind me. And it was a long battle with him and the Mercedes throughout the whole race, which is exciting. And we're gonna start right now. So you can see heavy wets will be the best in this condition. It's heavy rain, insanely heavy rain. And we get a pretty decent start, considering we are on inters. Probably the best out of all of them. And we are already ahead of Sebastian Job. There's a lot of collisions, I think, ahead of us. And we actually, which was surprising, Daniel Haddad, I didn't like see that one here coming, but you can see Haddad gets a bit of a tricky exit. And we actually managed. I was like, okay, we need to get ahead of him. So I was spamming also my ERS. And oh, completely forgot, there was a collision ahead of us, which was between, I think, actually my teammate Freddy and Beresney. You can see Beresney turning a bit to the left, Freddy a bit to the right. And I think if we look a bit further, yeah, that's the moment of impact. It's a racing incident, I would say. That literally then pushes Dani with a small collisions to the wall, and Dani spins to the left, race over. It was probably the biggest chance for Dani to score big points, and it ends like this. But no matter what, great start. We're already up into P9. We get a great run through Eau Rouge, and we're spamming the ERS. We're spamming the ERS because I want to stay ahead of Daniel Haddad as long as I can. I won't fight him too hard because I know he has still the better tires. But as long as I can defend, you can see that we are defending, and he will pass us soon. But I know they are fighting. You can see that also with Freddy being ahead, he slows them down enough for us to have a run maybe on them. But I realized, okay, he has a better exit, and I was like, okay, let's not fight it. Also let him go past, braking a bit more, taking the outside line, checking if everything behind is clear. It's clear, so we let him go. And not losing much more time, because we're gonna lose big time. You can already see Freddy didn't have the greatest of race starts. He's P6, already had a collision. But it was alright because he's on inters. Pretty much from here on, we are trying to just hold on to whatever is ahead of us. We're of course using our ERS tactically. One thing to take away, at this stage, we didn't have the biggest clue about race setups in the wets. And it showed at the end. We had way too much tire wear. I think Jarno, usually Freddy has this like least tire wear from all of us. And he had still 17% more tire wear at the end of the final, or the final few laps. than Jano at the front, where rear air was the same, but we didn't understand what to do on the setup to fix that at this point. And yeah, that made our race way more harder, because I've realized as soon as tire wear kicks in on the front just becomes more understeer. You have less grip at the front, the whole car just turns into a boat. And it makes it hard in the middle sector in particular. But you can see Freddy's still holding up. Daniel Harder and Dani Moreno. I think Moreno might have damage already, and that was good for us. In some way. In some way we were really unlucky, because you will see. But Moreno had damage from what I knew. Wing damage. Made him much slower. So we are pulling quite a good gap to the cars behind. Actually pulling them without, like, out of the... I think if we would have been in clean air, we would have pulled away from them easily at this stage. We were much faster. At the end, we are struggling because of that tire wear thing from setup. We fixed that for future events. Unfortunately, it didn't rain anymore, I think, at least. Here you can see how close we get to Dani. He's really struggling, and understandable, with a little bit of wing damage, but he still had insane grip. You can already see there's a gap from 2.4 seconds after one lap from Haddad to the other wet runner, so we're losing big time. Actually, like, we are losing a lot of time. You can also see how sketchy the car is. Let's have a little replay of that. Look at my steering wheel. Oh, fighting it twice, nearly losing it twice, but pushing it to the edge to maybe get a good run on Dani at some point, because I knew, okay, I might get past him. It would be big. It's a Mercedes. We're fighting the Mercedes in the championship. We're trying to fight back, and we did in this event. We actually then recovered, I think, 90 points, and we were point equal to Mercedes in the constructors. We did a great job in this event. Both Freddy and I had a win, and Freddy also won this race. There was 3 wins from the same team, which I think never happened before in F1 Esports. We were also, I know it's the normal Red Bull, but we were actually running the white livery. I have a replay of that, but without the commentary, and I think the commentary is nicer if I actually recorded in the game. I didn't like this, and you can see, okay, Moreno has a bad run here. I'm trying to do the switchback, but I can just not get the power down. He has maybe understeer and less grip in the corners, but he still has that traction. So I'm trying my best, also trying to put him under a bit more pressure, focusing on a good exit, because I know he has insane traction. And then you can also see I'm using my ERS. I'm trying. It's 4.5 tenths. I'm also trying through Eau Rouge, because we might gain there with his wing damage. We put it into 7th gear to make it a bit less understeery. Yep, more or less stays the same, and by the looks of it, we're not gaining much. Dani already turned off his ERS. We are still pushing to try something, but nothing we can do at this point. And that was the frustrating bit. I knew he had a wing damage, and so he cost us lots of time. He actually was slower than us on inters in the middle sector, but because the gap was not big enough to overtake him, and him getting this insane traction out of every single corner, it kind of balanced it out. It still made us also slow, because of course I could not overtake. And so you will also see the gap dropping to the cars behind a tiny bit. Freddy pulling away big time from Moreno, you can see that. And throughout the whole race, Freddy and I had exactly the same pace, like when we were in clean air. Yeah, not much I can do. You can see the gap to Sebi is dropping big time right now. 2 tenths already from the com down to here, and it was at 1.5, I think. So this hurts quite a lot, and it did. I tried really hard to get past Moreno. And you will see that also. I think this lap I will also have a run on him. And I don't think I will get past Moreno at all, because of that traction issue. He might have understeer and a damaged wing, but these conditions are still not quick enough. You can see 3.7 seconds from Freddy to Haddad. He's getting a tiny bit right now, but mainly probably because of ERS. And them fighting. But yeah, I was trying a lot. Let's just say that it was really frustrating, because I did everything I could. You can see Sebi is now within 8 tenths. Before, it was at the start of the lap, it was still 1.5 seconds, something like that, and already there we were kind of losing a bit of time. And with that also, Opmer is getting closer, right? So everything gets a bit harder. The initial pace from us on these conditions was perfect, and I don't think Jano could have challenged me at the end if I could have had a bigger gap. And I was literally right behind Freddy. Like, Freddy was just ahead of Moreno already. It was the fortunate thing for him. So Freddy and I would have stick together, kind of probably a 1 second gap, just so we don't have the dirty air. And so we can work together from there with whatever happens. And yeah, you can see I'm closing in on Moreno again. gain a bit of time on Sebi, of course, because the slipstream and ERS. But we are stuck again. Middle sector completely stuck. You can already see in the mirror, Moreno is struggling big time. I was a bit worried what's going on. Don't know what Moreno can do with this car. Don't know how damaged it is. And to be honest, I wouldn't have liked to be in Dani's situation here. It was quite annoying. He knew I was right behind, charging through, trying to make a move on him. And there's another AlphaTauri where the whole field probably thinks that we are working together big time on track, which is not true. Of course, we are closer to each other, but it's not like we're intentionally fully forcing something to make the other team benefit a lot. If we can see we can help, like in last video, that Sebi can give me a slipstream instead of Beresnay, he will of course do it. But that's pretty much where it ends. Otherwise, they're minding their own business. And you could also see that in the Brazil race where Sebi was still attacking me in the fight with Jarno and helping out Freddy. So now Jarno's getting past. This is exactly the point. I think probably Moreno told Jarno that he will pit now, and so Jarno's putting on the pressure, needs to get past Sebi because he knows that Sebi is a bit struggling. I mess up big time. What a horrible lockup. But now the gap to Freddy is 3.5, and I think it kind of stays there for more or less the same for the entire race until I start fighting with Jarno and think about what I can do against Jarno. Also, gap to Jarno is 1.6 no matter what. He looked, I think, much faster actually on the straights than us. And so I was thinking, okay, we can pull away in the middle sector. But I couldn't. There was the tire wear. the front tire wear was just too much, and I can only advise you play a bit around with your setup regarding tire wear in the races, because it makes a big difference. You kind of want front and rear tires to be balanced, but you never want the front tires to have more wear than the rear tires, because as soon as that point happens, your car turns into a boat. And I know we are racing on a wet track and you might want a boat, but you know, I mean the kind of bad way of having a boat as your race car. It's not what you want to see. Actually, like a lot of people know my rain pace is actually insane. Like, I'm probably the fastest rain driver on the F1 game, maybe. Or at least one of the fastest, looking at my Brazil pace and stuff like that. From 2019 as well, I'm really insane on the rain. So, this made a big difference. You can see also the gap to Freddy is kind of the same. Jarno's still catching tiny bit every now and then, and at some point we're actually, I think, pulling a tiny gap, but Jarno's probably just harvesting ERS and still taking a bit more care of his tires. But this didn't make the difference. It was mainly the setup, because 17% is not down to driving. You cannot even make this due to some lockups or something. This is literally impossible, especially with Freddy. That was just Freddy's, and I think I probably had more. I have another lockup, speaking of one, that was great. I was of course trying to push like a big enough gap from Jarno, and actually lost out big time there. 2/10, not good. Trying a lot of things, make our life easier and secure. Probably a 1-2 if everyone has to pit. Gap is still 1.3 and also 3.6 to Freddy, even though the lockup, but Jarno is now closing in a tiny bit. Now, this is the interesting bit. In this lap, people are pitting. And Jarno is only, at the end of this lap, 9/10, by the looks of it. But you can see the gap to Freddy and I is still the same. So let's give a bit forward, because this is where it gets interesting. You will have like the guys that are pitting right next to us, and they're going from wets to inters. So you would think, okay, 8 laps, you might have a bit more worn tires. And yes, we did. Especially us Red Bulls with our setup that we had. But look at this, we actually closed in also on Freddy. It's just 3.2 seconds. So Jarno was even quicker than I was, but I even like gained time on Freddy like 4 or 5 tenths. And we are ahead of literally everyone. Everyone that was ahead initially is behind us. So that means the guys ahead that still have to pit, and they have to pit, they will be behind us as well. So on track, it's a Red Bull 1-2. That was perfect. But the issue was Jarno. Jarno was incredible in this race. And we made our life a lot harder with not having tested the setup. for our excuse in some way, I mean, there's no real excuse because Mercedes got it right and we didn't. But there was 1 week in between and we were not ready with setups yet. We were not happy, especially after event 1 being so terrible, and we were miles off the pace in event 1. Unfortunately, there's no footage from that because I only figured out you could save the race replays after event 1 when I saw it from a video from Daniel Lahara. Maybe he can share me his Bahrain file and then we have at least Bahrain, which was a decent race to be honest, considering the bad quali. Our race pace was alright, our quali pace was awful, and quali matters a lot in F1 Esports. But yeah, we made our life a lot harder with not having properly tested wet setups. We tested it for the quali, but quali wasn't wet, it was set to dry. And so we only had those wet setups, which were fast. You can see that we hold the pace, we have pretty good pace, especially in the initial stage of the race. But then it drops because of the tire wear. And the issue is the front tire wear. It's literally the front tire wear, and there we go. Red Bull 1-2 could have been the first of the season. Oh no, wait. Oh yeah. Yeah, it could have been. I don't think we had a 1. I'm not sure. But we had some incredible teamwork shows, and I actually pulled a gap from Jano. I think he might have locked up. It's 1.5 seconds now, and I was thinking, okay, maybe we're in this. It's 6 laps to go. We might be struggling a bit for pace, but I could catch up to Freddy. Now Freddy is also pushing a bit more. And I can kind of now go for the more strategic bit and try to hold that gap to Jano without burning my tires too much and also saving my ERS. So I kind of try and keep it, you can see I'm taking it a bit more easy now. Just allow myself to have maybe something in my pocket in case Jano catches up again, because his pace initially was really good behind and I was like, alright, we are struggling here. The setup was fast, but it was not fast in long term. That was our issue. We are now in the long term stage of the race. And Jano's pace was looking really good, and not just Jano but also David Tunitza. He's now on fresh inters behind Jano, just 1.5, so it's 3 seconds. I know it's 5 laps, but it matters. Like these kind of things, those margins are important, and you need to make sure you perfect everything. And if one thing goes wrong, we realize that it can go big time wrong. So now Freddy had a good lap, pushed a lot on this one, as we were just trying to maintain everything with ERS and tires and stuff like that. Freddy probably went for fastest lap there. What a crazy guy. Gap was then 3.5. Jano was 1.6, 1.7. More lockup, but that run didn't really matter. I could still make the corner, so it's fine. You can also see it on the exit. We didn't lose much from Jano. More or less the same. Had a bit more entry speed, a bit less exit speed, which you don't want because it's such a long straight. I think I was actually taking this year flat. I think easily flat on this year's game. And from now on, it's a kind of 5-lap shootout. Who makes it to the end? You can see Jan was actually losing quite a bit of time because we also used our ERS here. I was like, alright, we might have a chance of pulling a big gap. So I used a bit more. We also caught up to Freddy because he didn't use his ERS there. And now it kind of goes the same way again. Like, not much happening. 2 seconds now because he knows Tunitza is behind. He cannot really risk too much. Longo is also behind. Jano doesn't want to risk like losing out too many positions. He needs to also be able to defend in case he cannot catch us, but yeah, he's really smart there. How he's handling that situation. I was also like thinking, okay, what can I do? So kind of gap stayed the same again between me and Freddy throughout the middle sector. I think I lost a bit of time. Oh, the exit wasn't that great. But yeah, this lap not much happened. We pulled a little gap to Jano, but he will fight back at us now. This kind of continues. I mean, end of next lap, it's 1.9 to Jano, and let's see if we cross the line. Okay, let's go a bit further back. No. So we actually see the delta, because it's always a bit glitched out. Maybe that works, hopefully. Because Jano is now already much closer. You can see it in the mirror. He's probably like kind of scratching at that Yeah, it's 2.6, no wait, 3.6 seconds out to Freddy, 1.5 to Jano. So we lost out a bit of time. Stupid lockup from my end. Yeah. It was not looking too great at this point. We still had a good gap, which is usually enough, especially in the wets. But the tires were going and I felt that. And I wasn't really happy. Then couldn't really use much ERS. Jano is using a bit more now because also of David. Freddy was using ERS again. The gap increases by that. And it's just a kind of managing game. And at the end of the lap, Jano was right behind. 8 tenths. So within DRS range, which is of course not available. But he's close. He's in the slipstream. Then we have the 2 fresh inter-runners. It's just 3 laps to go now. Freddy with 3.8 had a good lap. Had a little bit of an ERS push lap on this one. And now I'm just focusing on, okay, you can see my ERS is now on 35. I'm not using any because I know Jano is close and I need that ERS at any cost to just be able to defend. That was it. Being able to defend was my only priority right now because we need that 1-2. We want to extend our championship lead if we can. And yeah, from here on it's literally just a shootout until the end. That was super tense, super stressful, but also awesome. And we have a great battle with Jano. You will see it probably in 1 lap or so. And skip to that. I think now Jano is the closest. Yeah, now it's gonna come to the showdown. So, Jano 5 times behind, 5.5, and you will see how he's closing in on the straight. Like, without DRS, that's actually ridiculous. I was like, holy crap. Don't know if it's this or next lap. We are of course not using too much ERS. I'm already trying to defend 1 time. I can move once more, and I will also do that. That's legal. Anything more than that is not within the racing rules. So you can move once, and then once into the braking. And yeah, Jano is super close. You can see 2 tenths. That's nothing. And you can just see we are struggling so much through the middle sector now. Like, he's within third here and he is barely losing any time. And that's mainly because our front end is dead. And with all this saving and stuff and like thinking about what's gonna happen with Jano, Freddy could also pull a great gap. Just look at it. It went from 3 point something to 5.4. Like, it's insane. Yeah. I don't want to know how bad my tire wear was, honestly. I really don't want to know, because Freddy even did something to lower his tire wear a tiny bit. I don't think I did. I literally used our wet quali setup. It was not nice to drive. It was not nice to drive at this stage. At the beginning of the race I was loving life, I was super quick. And that's kind of how the setup worked. It was super quick initially, and then it kind of like makes sense with the quali setup, but we didn't have the time to go for testing. And I did a little cheeky late defense. And we actually made a bit of contact here. Not much, it's just our wheels banging. Sounds a bit harsher than it was. And it was like, I was trying to kind of get Jano in a position where he might not have a run. So in the next corner, I'm delaying my on throttle so I can dictate the pace. There you can see it. So we brake a bit longer and later into the corner than normally to get the rotation, then dictate the pace. And it didn't work. I also got a bit of wheel spin. It was too close and our ERS was not looking good. You can see we are already spamming ERS. I was trying everything. We were so on the limit, like the tires were poking. So we go once here, stay on the inside because we took that line already. And now we go to our racing line with that. Actually, super important because we boxed in David. And now we have an amazing side-by-side battle with Jano. Like, look how on the edges is. We brake late and there is no contact. 0. And he makes a move stick. Fair play. Jano, awesome move. Was probably one of the best moves of the season. So Janitza thinks about it. I'm blocking the inside as much as I could. Without ruining my line too much. So I keep him behind for the rest of the lap. And you can already see, like, look at how much Jano is pulling away. It's... Tires are dead. Bono, I need to pit. But the race was still great. Honestly, I enjoyed this race a lot, aside from the last stage of the race. Because I felt super quick, super comfortable in the conditions. And yeah. The end, unfortunately, it didn't pay off or like play out. How do you say? Work out how we wanted to. Freddy still got the dub, which was important. So we had 25 points from that. Now you can see, okay, Tunitsa with his fresh tires gets a great exit. And well, I'm just spamming my ERS, but even Tunitsa, I think he might have been on a dry setup or something. I mean, look at his straight line speed. That is mighty. We are also spamming our ERS. It's not like we are not. And now I'm thinking, because usually in the F1 game, you might think, why are you not defending the inside? The inside usually in Spa, in the bus stop, on the F1 game, is the worst place you can be for the first corner. Because with that, you end up on the outside for the next one. And in the last lap, you need to pick the one where it's the shortest run down to the line. The shortest run down to the line will be on the inside. So I defend the inside. David is braking way too late, even hitting the sausage curb, and with that, pushing me off. In my opinion, it was a super dirty move, and I was really disappointed. I was literally, after this race, we had a great event. Like, we caught up to Mercedes. I've got a win. Freddy got 2 wins. And it was an overall, like, a really, really strong performance, like, from both of us. Some things didn't go right my way, but aside from that, and also for Freddy and Monza, but especially these kind of things here in Spa with the front wear and me kind of getting stuck behind Moreno because of the damage. And then, of course, what was it, Silverstone, which you will still see. Yeah. I was literally, after this race and this finish, super angry, emotional. Felt like I've been robbed, we've been robbed, we didn't do enough. Until I've realized, okay, we made actually a good job. And I kind of calmed down, but until that point, I was crying, angry, everything. I was just like, the emotional part of racing, you're just like, what the is going on? Yeah, I wasn't happy. And the stewards didn't give him a penalty, which in my opinion is still, I don't agree with that, but I respect the steward's decision. For me, at this point, like you can see, David is braking late, which is fine, but he even locks up a tiny bit. You can see the tiny lockup because he brakes too late. Then I leave him enough space. Like, how much space would he need? I'm literally leaving way more than I need to. And we are side by side. This is more than side by side. And he's only ahead because he braked too late. And with that, he's just pushing me off. If he would have given me enough space, I'm quite sure I would have been ahead. And with that, it was just a P4. So not a double podium at least. Cost us also a lot of points. Otherwise, we would have been fully ahead with points of Mercedes. That didn't happen, so yeah. I don't know. Some might say this is a racing incident. In my opinion, this is a bit too much than this is just more than racing, because he clearly doesn't make the corner, uses me to slow down, pushes me with that off. Like, not off the track, but, you know, from the line that I have. You can literally see the tap here. Wait, let me show you in slow-mo. As soon as he hits me, like, he hits the curb, drives wide with that, pushes me off. That's GG. I cannot do anything there. So I felt really frustrated, annoyed, and not happy with the end result, especially knowing that there was no penalty regarding that. At least, like, saying, not a time penalty, like, where it says, yeah, David gets 3 seconds or something. Just like, they switch positions. They did that already with Freddy once in Mexico. And yeah, they could have done it also with him. Say 4/10 penalty, so he's still ahead of Nico. Didn't happen. Is what it is. Season's over. Race is over. Cannot change it. Need to respect the steward's decision, and I just still don't think it's right. But whatever. Jarno beat me fair and square. Was a great battle with him. Really enjoyed it. He also wrote me a message that he liked the fighting, and he's really happy that he can fight at least someone hard side by side without having to worry about damage or being crashed out or something, which I really appreciate, because fighting Jarno is always a pleasure, always fun. We always have great respect on track, and yeah, that was one of those showcases how it can go if Jarno and I get it right. So what can we take away from that? Think about how long it could take to dry up. If it's a condition race where it changes from heavy to inters. Because it might be that pitting takes you longer than actually staying out and losing a bit of time because you're on the wrong tires. Maybe you don't lose enough time, so you would be ahead, and the inters, they don't wear off that much if you have the setup correct with, well, each settings that affect tire wear in the race, which we didn't, especially as I didn't make any changes. But this is stuff that we learned from, and after that this didn't happen anymore. We had really good tire wear and our race pace was much more consistent and easier. But anyways, I hope you liked this video. It wasn't, I know it felt like a podium, wasn't a podium apparently. It is what it is, and I will see you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a lovely whatever day, something. I wish you all a happy new year, a great start like we had in USA, in Kota, into the new year, and that everything goes the way you want it. And I will see you back on track, back on YouTube, back on Twitch, and back on the socials, on the grind, and hopefully sometimes in person in 2022. Take care and peace. Yo, Marcel.